Well, yesterday must have hit some nerves because I got a lot of pushback. I got people sending me videos from other people saying that the market is just fine and that maybe we're doing clickbaits and trying to get more views. Of course, we're always trying to get more views, but this is certainly not clickbait. I don't need this money to continue with my practice. It's absolutely terrific. But let's talk about what's going on because both my economic model and my timing model show that we have a huge disruption in the real estate market coming right at us. And I have people say, well, the timing model, nobody can time the market. Well, we can't time it to the day, but I'm going to tell you, it's just like when you're playing blackjack. Sometimes the deck is rich and sometimes it's not. And when it's rich, you want to double down. And when it's not, you want to be very, very careful. And that's where we're at. We're at a very, very Jeopardy period right now. And if you don't pay attention, this is where you can make mistakes like nobody's business that you may or may not be able to recover from. So this is one of my most important videos I've ever done. Now, if you're thinking of purchasing something, I would say make sure that you get a margin because the market is heading down. Now, let me just go through this and let's just talk about this. Now, the question becomes, how do you value real estate market? How does it get valued? Well, people try and make this connection between commercial real estate and housing real estate, saying they're not the same, but they're in the same asset class. And I will tell you that commercial entered into the downturn in a cycle completion a full year, maybe a year and a half before real estate has, and real estate already has retraced. So how do you value real estate? There's only two methods. So everyone knows the fact that if you're buying a house, you want to find out what the neighbors sold their house for. If there's one that's, just like yours, particularly in these subdivisions where there's only like 6 or 7 models, you want to find out what did the last model sell for? And how does my home compare to that property? It's called a comparable. Now, if you have 3 of those, that's what the appraisers are going to look at. They're going to look at the last 3 that were comparable to yours, and they're going to set a value. All the real estate agents do that. Everybody does that. We're going to talk about that, but there's another method too, because just because houses are houses and homes, our portfolio is all single-family homes, and they have a income component to them and a cap rate. So how do we value our properties? If we value them on the cap rate and the income approach, it's eye-opening, and it's what happens in these marketplaces. Let's go through this. So let me go to my very first slide, and let's see if we can take a look at this. Let me open it up so you can see what we're talking about here as quickly as we possibly can. I don't need to make this forever, but this is a very, very important video. Now, look. This is a pure economics. I've used this many, many times. This is not getting better. It's getting worse. We have the record high credit card debt in the United States. We've never had it. When they say record and historic, it means it was never this high before. We got record high credit card debt and record low savings. So people are tapping out their savings. They've maxed out their credit cards. Now they're going into IRAs and 401ks withdrawals because that's the only funds they have left. And what comes next? Well, I'm going to tell you, when you use all your assets, now you start going into defaults. This is why we're starting to see this is ancillary to this, we're starting to see in the subprime on housing or on car loans that they're going delinquent because of this chart right here. There are people, the average person, the median household is out of money. Now, you can't compare affordable housing to the upper class. I live here in Phoenix, Arizona. Scottsdale is not an affordable housing area. No one goes to Scottsdale because it's affordable. We have all kinds in Phoenix Metro, we have tons and tons of affordable housing, but they are in trouble. Scottsdale is not. 2 different type of marketplaces. But the people who are looking at this chart, they're in affordable housing, and they are in deep, deep trouble. Let me go to my next slide. This is what we're hearing. Now, I had a cocktail party not too long ago, and I'm going to tell you, I'm in the industry, so it's an industry cocktail party. I had a title, and there's 4 or 5 title companies that are sponsoring this cocktail party. And when you talk privately to the executives, they're telling us it is the worst opening they've ever had, ever. These guys have been in business 40 years. This is worse than the great financial crisis. There are no transactions being done. Do you get that? No transactions. So yes, the upper end is still transacting, the lower end is not. And we do 3 to 4 times the amount of transactions in affordable housing than we do in multi-million dollar homes. So if you start thinking, oh yeah, the multi-million dollar homes are just fine, therefore the entire marketplace is fine, you are absolutely incorrect. The whole base of the pyramid is based on affordable homes, and then people move up. You start somewhere, the starter homes are in deep, deep trouble. I go to my next slide. Now look at, not only are the title companies telling us, but we got this back. December was the worst we've ever had since like 1995, and we've got 75 million more residents here, and we've had fewer transactions since 1995, fewer than a great financial crisis. Parse that one for yourself. Just think that through. And we're not even started yet. This is just the beginning. So we've lost over 400,000 real estate agents are gone. We're probably going to double or triple that because we had just under 4 million sales. These guys get paid on sales. If you don't have sales, you don't get paid. That's why we keep telling people you got to be very careful who you're doing with, because we need to see where their bread is buttered. Now, my business, we are fiduciaries. I've got a huge rental portfolio that's free and clear. I get cash flow regardless what's going to happen. So I'm in a gravy train. That's where we want you to go. We want you to get on that gravy train. Excuse me. Let me go to my next slide here. Now, again, I'm telling you, you can see this coming out of Wall Street Journal. Fell to the lowest transaction sales, existing home sales in 30 years with more residents. And why is that? We keep hearing about the trapped residents, the trapped mortgage holders. Well, who are these trapped mortgage holders? They are the ones that have mortgages like 2.5%, 3%, 3.5%, 4%. They got a beautiful home, half the mortgage payment what they would if they just replaced their property, let alone move up. So if you've got a $1,500 house payment because your mortgage is 2.5%, in order to replace that house or to refinance it, you'd be looking at $3,000 a month. And if you wanted to upgrade your house, you might be looking at $4,000 or $5,000. A lot of people are saying, I am not going to do that. So they are out of the market. It's a great asset they have, but they're out of the market. They're not transacting because they're trapped in their house. Let me go to my next. And this becomes very, very important because we're talking about comparables. Well, who's selling, guys? Who's selling? If the people who have great homes at 3.5%, 3%, 2.5% aren't selling, who is selling? Who becomes the comps then? So when we start about talking comps, the 3 comps that make the value, the appraiser goes and looks at your house, and the realtors go look at your house, and they say, well, these are the last 3 just like yours that sold. Who are the sellers? Let's think about that. Put our thinking cap on. Let me go to my next slide, and let's just talk about that. Now, this is confusing for a lot of people. I thought we were going to have a recession in September of 2023, fourth quarter. It started going into October. I said, this is not looking good. So fourth quarter of 2003. And what happens? We've got an election year coming up, and the Federal Reserve and the Treasury start flooding the market with money. Now, you all know, now we're talking about investments, so we're not talking about kindergartners here. We're talking about the fact that when you put liquidity on this type of magnitude, you get an immediate response. So the Biden administration went 8% deficit spending as if we were in a huge depression. And of course, it propped up the marketplace. It distorted the cycles just a little bit, but the cycle will not be denied. It's coming, and we're going to pay double because of this type of liquidity. You can see this. You can do this yourself. You can go to Federal Reserve Electronic Data System, FRED, and just start going down that rabbit hole, you'll see where these liquidity was goose. And of course, as soon as you get liquidity, what happens? It goes right into the marketplace, goes right into the stock market. Most liquid market in the world gets that liquidity. That's why the stock market has just gone crazy. And it's really helped my market as well. Now, here it is. You start taking a look at it. I told you this is one of the cycles that we take a look at. Look at this, March 2022. This is right when our market peaked. We peaked really like June, July of 2022, and liquidity peaked March, right in front of that, and it's been down ever since. This is what drives the economy. That's the fuel. Do you understand that? I mean, it doesn't take much to figure. If you've got a car and it's running out of gas, and you put a full tank of gas in, and now we decide we're going to put premium in it. We're going to put STP, which is my age. We're going to clean them carburetors. We're going to clean the ejectors, and this car is going to run like a top. That's because we put all of this liquidity in, and it explodes. It's an artificial bubble. Do you understand it? It's an artificial bubble. It's not real. It was all this money, all this PPP, all these stimmy checks that were going out. People were getting all kinds of money. They goosed the economy. Everybody was spending. It was artificial. It wasn't real. And once all of that premium gas comes out of your engine, it starts to falter, and that's where we're at. Let me go to my next slide here so we can take a look at this. Now, look at this. This is truly amazing. Look right here. What's the date? September 24. Boom. What's coming up? This is the election. We got an election in November. All of a sudden, we get a huge amount of liquidity put in, kind of a little bit of a gasp. The pedal got pushed down, and away the economy went. Now, this is going to only last a couple of quarters, and then it's gone. This is coming out of the Biden administration. This is giving it to the Trump administration. They've got all this extra debt. They got enormous amount of debt. You know, all this deficit spending. And now they've got the Doge going on. We're finding out where all that money went to, which is squandered. It was just wasted. But we have the debt for it. It's just like sending out your kids get their first credit card. They go out and buy absolutely everything. They've never had credit before. So they buy everything. Well, that's great. They're great fun. You know, oh my gosh, they're just having the best time of their lives. Then all of a sudden they got to start paying the bills. You know, and that's where we're at. We're going to have to start paying the bills. This is economics. We're going to have to start paying the bills, not timing. It's economics. And economics says that we have got to pay the piper, and it is not going to be fun. Be careful. Now, I am a wild, wild bull. I think we are just going to make an absolute fortune, but it's looking 2 years out. It's the timing. That goes into our timing model. You know, we don't want to buy at the top. We don't want to pay full retail. We never pay full retail. We want deals. The deals are coming, and we want to take advantage of them. But if you buy now, you're going to be in trouble. Let me go to my next slide, and let's just talk about that. Oh, wrong way. So let's just take a look and see if we can't open this up a little bit so that you can see this. Where's a good one? No, let's stay here with this one. Oh, where's the market? Well, if you looked at my last videos, and by the way, if you like the videos, I could really, really appreciate the fact if you would subscribe and give me a thumbs up. You know, YouTube logarithms just absolutely love that. And I'd love to hear. I just get such a big kick out of the fact of listening to your comments and your thinking. I'm getting some great comments. People are really starting to think this through and realize what's going on, and they shared it with me. I just love that. Now, this is coming out of Melody Wright sent this out. Now, where's the market? Here's the affordable home area. Look at right down here. You know, down 16%, down 6%, down 15, down 2, down 13, down 14. And how about the upper end here? You know, 750,000 to a million and a million plus, up 44%. 44% for both of these. Midwest, 50%, 30%. So you can see it is in the upper range that they're getting the big boost because they are not affected by interest rates. You understand that? They're not affected by interest rates. I just bought a place knowing that where we are in the cycle, it was as I told you, it was a trophy property. You don't get a shot at these. I paid cash. Interest rates did not affect me. I wanted a property. I bought it. I understood my risks and I bought it. That's what happens in the upper end. They do, we get a lot of cash. I mean, I live here in Scottsdale. There is a lot of people with a lot of money here and they pay cash. They're not affected by the interest rates. However, the affordable, the ones that have got their credit cards maxed and their savings accounts non-existent, and they're going into their 401ks and their IRAs, those people are in the affordable price range, and they are just absolutely having problems. So not only do we have people that are trapped in their homes, at least they have a nice home, they bought a house, 2.5 to 3.5, 4%. They're not selling, and the other people can't buy because they're priced out of the range. Listen, when you can rent for $1,800 or buy for $3,200, there is no decision there. They're going to rent. And that's what's happening with the rentals right now. We're going to talk about rentals in just a second. So I'm a little off key on this, but we have thousands. I mean, here in Phoenix, we got 22,000 new properties coming. They're all A properties. They're all looking to rent around $3,000 because that's what their metrics did in 2022. But I'm going to tell you in 25, the metrics are completely different. And we have pressure on rents because affordable. The people who are renting are not buying $1 million homes. They're renting a place to live, and they are in trouble. Let me go to my next slide. I'll open this up for you so you can see the slides. So let me just go to my next one. This is one of my most important. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be worked up on this. Now look at it's economics. Now this fits right into my timing model. I want you to understand that. The timing model is telling us that we are running into problems. We've already come over to the other side, and we're onto the completion side of my model. And what's going to trigger that? So it's very vulnerable to a shift in economics. Now, I'm telling you, Donald Trump ran on the fact we are going to squeeze out all this government waste. We're going to find out where our money is being spent. We're going to find out about the corruption. We've got way too many people. The Biden administration hired 800,000 new workers. When the economy's starting to slow down, they were the ones behind all the employment. Nothing was going into the private sector. It was all going into government. All those people, they're not needed. So we're going to get rid of them. Not we. I mean, President Trump is going to get rid of them because they're redundant. What happens when we lose 1 million people from government? That has a knock-on effect like crazy. Take all that. And then we're talking about $1 trillion in waste, $1.5 trillion in waste. Take that out of the economy. Now, what happens to that? That's what might be the trigger that does our waterfall. That's right in the timing model. That's economics. Economics and timing meld together on that. It's giving us the absolute confirmation that this is coming. I can see it. I can feel it. I've been through this. Like this will be my 4th time. I'm an old guy. Keep that in mind. And we get these guideposts. Because we're looking for some reason. What's the reason that the economy is going to, that the market's going to come down? What's the reason? We see it on our charts. It shows what is going to happen. We just don't know why. That's pure Dr. Nenner. That is pure Charles Nenner. I know what is going to happen. I don't know why. So we start looking for the why. Could this be the why? Absolutely could possibly be the why. But the economy is softening anyway. It's been propped up. It's an artificial bubble that we're in. When you start hiring people who aren't working and sending paychecks out and hiring like crazy for people that you don't need, paying them big bucks, sending out stimmy checks, that's artificially done. It's not, sure, it's a demand equation, but it's artificial because it wouldn't have happened naturally if this hadn't happened. Let me expand this. Let's go to our next slide and let's just take a look at this. Now, I'm telling you, here's where we're at. This is my concern. I think that we are going to go all the way back to like 2019, maybe 2018 prices, which takes you back here. This is the accumulation phase. I think we go below this. We never stop where we're supposed to stop. This thing should just have gone on a nice trajectory. It didn't do that. It went straight up and bubbled. So this is a big, big bubble. We've looked at this before. It's called the everything bubble. Went into every one of the asset classes. And I think we are at risk of doing 110% retracement of those gains. So everything that was given in 2020 is going to be taken away plus. So what does that mean for these people that are coming on this side? That means if you're coming down and this is 100% and you can buy it for like 60%, you're thinking, oh my God, what a deal that is. I'm going to buy this property because I'm getting it 40%. That was way up here and now it's way down here, except that you don't realize it is going way down here. And if it goes way down here and you bought it, you paid too much. And that is where the problem is that we are in a Jeopardy period. You have to be very careful because I'm going to tell you, you're going to look back and you're going to see these properties and say, oh my God, that's $1 million house. I can get it for $700,000. And then 2 years later, it's a $350,000 house. And now you are stuck with that, baby, because you paid way too much and you're underwater. That's the Jeopardy that we run right now. Now, could I be wrong? Of course I can. And I'm telling you, each one of these markets is independent. We're looking at a national basis. Some markets are going to be untouched. Scottsdale, it's a cash transaction. These are people who are coming. They have 2-3 homes. It's a beautiful community. Probably not, people are that's discretionary money. And a lot of people have lots of discretionary funds. It doesn't bother them. You go into an affordable property, these people are able to afford property. And then when you get into people who like maybe really need to be like in a C minus property because they can only afford so much, those people are just literally hanging on by their toenails. And will it affect that price range? You bet it will. It's just going to just decimate a lot of these areas. Now, if you're in good areas, probably not be a problem. If they're overbuilt, lots and lots of supply, you have to know. Now, here in Phoenix, I'm going to tell you, we overbuilt like crazy during the great financial crisis. Then we stopped. And all those workers left. So not only do we have all these houses, but we had all this vacant property because the workers who built all these houses went elsewhere. There was no work for them. So they went around to find out where they could because there was way too many construction workers in Phoenix, and they left. Phoenix collapsed. Some of the places like I would look at like Austin and Dallas and, lots and lots of places in Tennessee, North Carolina, certainly Florida are going to be in that. Now, these are great, great long-term markets. I am incredibly bullish on these markets, but in the outlying years. So we're going to get a shot at buying those, but we want to make sure that we wring out that risk. We want to wring that risk out of this property so that we don't get ourselves in trouble. So I'm telling you things that we often talk about in our private. So this would be a proprietary video, but because I had so many people call me, I'm released this. I'm really letting people know what really are some of our forecasts are. Remember, we're a big research company as well, so we do a lot of research, and that's what it's showing us. So let me go to my next slide. Let's just talk about it. I didn't mean to make this so long, just that there's so much to talk about at the moment. So again, yesterday I did this. You can easily see. So if we go into an economics, just look at the economics of this. So we are going to look at what does this do for an economic model rather than a timing model. You can see that we talked about this yesterday. If you're renting, it's a whole lot cheaper than buying. Those two should be pretty much equal. Now, they're going to bounce around a little bit, but they should be within reason, very, very close to that. And they're not. It's like 40, 50% more to own your property than to lease the very same building. So that is certainly out of whack. I saw the exact same thing in 2007. Knew that exactly. So that's where I think we're at. I think we're rolling late 2007, heading into early 2008. And I think that's what's going. Let me go to my next slide. Let me just move this forward just a little bit. And you can see that. So just doing simple math, I think we're 32% overvalued here in Phoenix. It doesn't have to be. We have some other mitigating circumstances. Of course, we've got California, which has had a lot of problems. A lot of people with money and businesses, they can take their businesses and work remote, and they're coming here. We're already feeling that here in Phoenix, Arizona. We're getting people from the California fire. They're picking up some of our vacancy. They're buying properties. So I expect here in Phoenix we're going to have a good first quarter, and I'm moving it into the second, and then I'm very, very concerned about the late second quarter and beyond for the economy. So let me go to my next slide so you can really take a look at this, because this is going to be telling. Now, again, we talked about the fact what happens when cap rates rise and we have competitive properties or competitive asset places. Look at this. Now, I want you to understand this. Let's just look at this and let's just talk about this. So if we look at the value of properties based on an income level, which is often what we do. I mean, this is what I do every single day. I want a return. If the return isn't there, I'm not going to buy it. Now, we have rentals. We're seeing that our rent is our rent is quit going up, and it is now kind of stabilized, leveled off, or slightly declining. Now, here in Phoenix, we have 22,000 units that are coming to market, and of course, they're going to put a lot of extra product on the property, and they're going to drive rents down. And we've seen that rents have been under pressure. They're not collapsing by any means, but they are under pressure. So let's just talk about that. So yesterday we talked about a cap rate was at 4.5%. Our typical rental will net us about $18,000. But what if we can't get that $18,000? We're talking about people who are tapped out. Their credit cards are maxed. Their savings is depleted. And what if we get jobs where worker hours start going down and we cannot get $18,000 a month or a year for our rentals? Because the market is changing, it's declining. And I think that's a real strong possibility. What if it just declines a little bit? So if it goes down $3,000 a year, it's only $250 a month. It's not the end of the world. But you see what happens to the price? If we use the same formula and so you say at 4.5 cap, the one that would be $400,000, which is what we have a lot of today, becomes $333,000. That's a stunning price. That's $65,000 loss, but it gets worse from here. What if as a cap rate, because I think cap rates are going to 5 or 6. And if it goes to 5 and we only get 15,000, then the value of that $400,000 property drops to $300,000. This is pure economics, guys. This is just, you can do this in any marketplace in the world and just figure out what does my return. And if we value housing, and this is coming out of my portfolio. My portfolio is all single family homes, affordable homes, and we know these numbers. That $400,000 house goes back to $300,000, which fits right into our timing model, because these houses that we bought for $300,000 went up to $500,000, and I think they're going to retrace probably down to 3.25, 3.5. They're going to come back. The gains that were artificial. We had artificial gains. We're going to get back, and it gets worse from here. What if interest rates go up? Now we just had a bad inflation CPI today. That goes back to the liquidity they put back in September. You know that it's going to come out of there. As we talk about this, I'm not terribly worried about inflation at this juncture. I think we're going to have to be more worried about deflation, because we're going to start seeing defaults on properties, people getting less and less. I mean, just look at retail, what's going on. It's just massively bad. Car sales are dropping like a rock. So you just have a lot of employment is going to come. And of course, when people start, losing hours, so you go from 40 to 30, that's a huge hit for you. So this could easily happen. So if we go to 6%, that $400,000 house is now $250,000. And if you don't think that hurts, you really need to think that one through. So let me go to my next slide. Let's finish this thing up. Now, this is where I'm at. If you want to discuss this, we are available for a private consultation. Find out what your portfolio is doing, how it's going to work, whether it's in jeopardy, what can be done to move things around. We only have a very, very short window to get this done. I think the train's already left the station for almost everybody. But if you need cash, there's still some options available to do that while valuations are still within reason for you. I think valuations will go down. It's not for clickbait. I could care less about clickbait. If you need to reach me, these are the numbers for it. We're also, I had people ask me on privately, would we do some coaching? It's not something I've done for a really, really long time, but I would start thinking, depending on a case by case basis, we start thinking about coaching, because I think we've got this absolutely outstanding, just absolutely outstanding opportunity coming to us. You're only going to get it, 3 times in life. Me, I was just fortunate because I'm an old guy. This would be my 4th time just when I got into the business. And you're going to have a really good chance to make a lot of money. But we're in jeopardy right now. We're in real strong jeopardy. So listen, my very best to you. If you need to talk with me, you know where I'm at. My best. Bye-bye now.